Hello everybody, I am Rue and this is my cozy corner of booktube, Rue with the Books. I haven't released a talking books video since the end of spooky season, so we have a lot of catching up to do. If you don't know what Talking Books is, it's a series in which I talk about the books that I have read since the last episode, the books that I am currently reading, as well as the books that I plan to read in the upcoming future. Since it has been a good while since the last one, I aim to be a bit more snappy and punctual than usual, doing it kind of in more of like a quick fire format, with a brief summary, what I liked, as well as what I didn't like about the books that I've read, what I'm enjoying and not enjoying about the books that I'm currently reading, and a little something about what I plan to do in the future. Before I start talking about all of the books in the video, be sure to press the like button to show your support for this YouTube channel. Every little bit of engagement helps, so you do me this little favor would be really appreciated. If you like booktube and booktube content, be sure to press the subscribe button too. I aim to upload at least once a week, so I can hang around in your subscription feed. Also, right over here, I have a new microphone. So I would be curious as to what you guys think of the audio quality. If you've watched previous videos, let me know how it compares to the old audio. I would love to know. So yeah, thanks so much. As the weather is dreadfully cold, be sure to grab a nice hot beverage to keep yourself warm and cozy. It is literally snowing outside where I live at the moment. That is way too bloody cold, to be honest, is what it is. So yeah, I've got coffee here. Without further ado, let's talk about some books.
What have I read?
First up in this video is The Last Fire Hunter by Selene Goldenberg, which is set to have a sequel released this year in 2026, so I am actually quite excited for that. This book is set in a Thai-inspired world, rich with culture from Thailand in terms of things like the food that they eat, the clothing they wear, the kind of vibrant and lush environments that you would get in that country, in the more rural areas, and religious beliefs especially, and the way that they kind of tie into the magic system, and more. It does a really fantastic job of really making you feel like you're part of this world. And yeah, that's one of the really cool parts of it, I think. It has a kind of Monster Hunter vibe to it that I really enjoyed. And the monsters that we kind of encounter within the story are taken straight out of kind of Thai mythology. And there's lots of like different like spirits and stuff like that. So a fire is essentially a spirit that has not moved on and reincarnated into their next life because they're kind of they're being punished for some kinds of like sins that they committed during their life or the way that they lived their life. So if someone's really greedy, they might have a really tiny mouth, which makes it really hard to eat as a spirit. And yeah, so I wished that this book lent more into the monster hunting aspect because I've not really read a story like it. And what we did get of that aspect itself was really cool. So I wish I got more of it. This book has a romance subplot, which I wasn't a massive fan of just because the dynamic is really weird. The love interest is pregnant. So as they get together, you know, you get the vibe here. But the romance subplot actually did end up growing on me considerably. We have a male protagonist, and the love interest is a strong, independent woman who used to be like a Thai fighter, kind of like the historic version of Muay Thai. So that was really cool. So she's very resilient, very strong, very headstrong, and I like that. This book has a twist kind of roughly halfway in, which really changed the trajectory of the story, going from this kind of monster hunting thing, leading on to themes such as corruption and nepotism and things like that. As much as I would have liked for it to continue being a monster hunting story, I think that the twist, kind of the trajectory it set the book onto, gave a lot more space for the ending to be good, which it was. So yeah, to be fair, the author knows what they're doing better than I. And yeah, I haven't really touched too much on the magic system yet. The main character essentially collects parts of these spirits and various herbs and remedies, and our main character can use these things to kind of like poison himself and put himself into these different trances and into these different dimensions. And I thought that was really, really cool. So overall, I think this was a solid and brilliant debut novel by Selene Goldenberg, and I rated it 4 stars out of 5. I really hope that we just get a little bit more action in the sequel book. Next up, I have The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. This is a monumental one for me because it was the last of my 2025 goals, which was to read my first Cosmere subseries. So book 2 in Mistborn Era 1 had way too much politics for me, but book 3 managed to find a really nice middle ground where it wasn't causing me to eye roll anymore. So one of the important characters in this book essentially finds himself in a bit of a tough spot and has to politically have all of these conversations to make sure that everything will be okay for the country in the future. And there's some very messed up things on all different sides, and it's not great. One aspect that I really liked about this book was that the questions that I had that were introduced in book 1 and 2 were answered, and the kind of mystery elements surrounding that were really good. Like, I was really interested in this world that Brandon Sanderson was building up, and to get those answers and then be satisfying was obviously a very good thing. The action in the book was on point. We had some cool fights leading on from devastating situations with very high stakes. The enemy / villain in this book is much bigger than oneself. And it was kind of like how does Brandon Sanderson write a satisfying conclusion to such a terrifying villain / entity situation? And he actually did knock it out of the park. This book did such a brilliant job of building up the characters that we have grown to love over the course of the series. We have seen them come out of their shells. We have seen them start taking responsibility for things. We have seen them make it their mission to kind of destroy the evils of the world. So one of the highlights of this series, and something I like to reflect on, is that the progression in the characters' personalities is really good. And I do like getting some good, solid character progression in my stories. One major character that I liked in books 1 and 2 had a bit of a depression in book 3. And it was actually really jarring to read. I think Brandon Sanderson could have toned it down just a little bit, especially with how much page space this character has. Just to see him constantly groaning and grumbling throughout the course of the story was really annoying. But I'm sure other people will like this character, so, you know, you win some, you lose some. The biggest criticism I have, it's not really criticism, it's just a statement, is that I did not like the ending of this book in terms of just the final climax, which soured my overall opinion of Mistborn Era 1. But overall, minus this character that was grumbling all the time and the fact that I didn't like the ending, it was a pretty decent book. So I gave it, in the middle, 3 stars out of 5. Book number 3 in this video is Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. And I'm going to let the cat out of the bag with this one. Catch-22 is one of the best books that I have read in 2025, and it has made it all the way up to my top books of all time list, so there you go. This book is very polarizing. By reading a few chapters, you will find out whether you love it or you hate it. For the right type of person, this book is absurdly funny. It actually had me cry laughing at certain points in the book. Catch-22 is written out of order, so if you pick this up, I suggest to try not to decrypt things too hard or like make a mental timeline. I promise it makes sense by the end, and I feel like that kind of thing can really ruin the enjoyment of a book. Catch-22 is about a bombardier in the latter end of World War II who wants to get out of the war. He has done the mandatory missions he has signed up to do, but the number of missions he is required to complete before being able to go back to safety keeps getting raised. Catch-22 itself in the book states that if you don't want to fly, you are sane and therefore must fly. But if you do want to fly, you are insane and therefore cannot fly. This is a loophole that keeps Yossarian, the main character, stuck in this rut, stuck in this kind of station with all of these other soldiers. And it's such a sad situation that you can really, really feel for him. The way I described Catch-22 is largely how this book works. There are loads of nonsensical, contradictory conversations that are just so over the top, stupid and funny. And I really loved all these conversations between the various military people. This book is so rich in its characters in both terms of personality and character arcs. I love this book so much because it's just so emotional. There are so many characters in this story that you can feel for. There are characters that you can love. There are characters that you can hate. There are moments where you scream at these characters, and there are moments where you can rejoice. It is just such a phenomenal book. I really can't state anymore how much I love it and how close it is to my heart now. Next up, we have Strength of the Few by James Islington. This book really opens up after Will of the Many, and it is a fantastic sequel. This book is where the story actually comes into fruition. I think Will of the Many almost acts as a prequel, and we get a continuation of the story laid out in book 1, as well as a couple extra ones. There are some great mysteries in this book. If you like diving in, absorbing stuff and theory crafting, this is a great book that you can just spend hours thinking about during or after reading. Due to the multiple POVs in this book, the pacing is really good. Just as stuff slows down in one kind of perspective, stuff picks up so fast in another one. So there's that constant snappy action, interesting parts of the book kind of thing going on, and I love that. It just really keeps your attention. There is some solid action in this book, both in terms of planning strategies and fighting with some pretty high stakes. One really good aspect of this book I've already mentioned is the multiple perspectives. Things are so different in each perspective that it's almost like reading 3 different magic systems. So if you can keep up with that kind of pace and start to understand the intricacies of each of these perspectives, you can really enjoy what's going on. I really like the characters in this book as well, both the new ones and the old ones. There were some pretty unexpected things that happened with them that had me just gasping in shock at various moments in the story. So that's fantastic. The most important part is that this book has me wanting to read the next one already. So it was very successful as a book too, and I'm really excited to kind of see how the various mysteries get answered, what happens next, how he continues taking the action in these different directions. I could speak more on this book, but I don't want to spoil anything, so I shall keep it short and sweet. I rate this one 5 stars out of 5. And so the next book is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. There's a little bit of context for this book, which is that I did a book swap with a new co-worker. I swapped Dracula for Great Gatsby, so classic for classic. Cool, right? This book follows Nick Carraway as he is sucked into the lavish and over-the-top life of Jay Gatsby. Gatsby is a very interesting character because he is strange, he is mysterious, and he has some kind of untold motives that you don't know what they are until reasonably into the story. So it feels quite ominous because you don't know what this character wants and why he is kind of hosting these parties, what he hopes to gain from them, because he's seemingly not participating as hard as all of these other people are at his parties. I think it can be quite a relatable story for many men. I would say more, but I don't want to spoil the book. I mainly thought that this book was just all right, like it was fine. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. There were lots of sequences in this book that almost seemed like extracts from American Psycho or like a random soap opera, just in a different time period. Most of the characters, minus Gatsby himself, were, in my opinion, quite uninteresting. There were some decently shocking moments in the book that did get me interested again, but they were fairly far and few between. Very different to someone like Stephen King, who knows when the right time to introduce something crazy that picks the story back up again is. If you're really interested in that particular time period, you will probably enjoy this book a lot more than I did. I thought it had an okay ending, although I would have preferred an alternate ending where we get to see Gatsby bounce back. So overall, I rate this book 3 stars out of 5 just because it was a bit I had read some very thick, chunky books before Great Gatsby, so I was in the mood for something short and sweet that would really suck me in. So I decided to pick this one up, especially because it was part of my physical TBR, and I got it for the very, very cheap price of like £1.50 at a charity shop. Also, I don't read very much crime, nor cozy crime, so I read this as a means of something short, something different, something that could really suck me in. Now, it didn't suck me in quite as much as I wanted it to, and it took me quite a while to really get into the story. I'd say maybe about the 40-45% mark was where I started actually getting interested. The pacing I found to be a little bit slow. It follows some old people in a retirement village who meet together on Thursdays to solve unsolved murders. But then a murder happens at their doorstep and they make it their mission to get to the bottom of it and find out who done it. The way that Richard Osman subverts expectations in this book from moment to moment is really masterclass, to be honest. Usually when books have chapters as short as they are in this book, I find them to be page turners, but I think because they were so short, it really kind of killed the momentum for me. Like each chapter was maybe like 2 or 3 pages. So the constant switching in perspectives and different things going on, I was like, I've finished a chapter now, maybe I'll put the book down and do something else, which is usually the opposite. If I read something with short chapters, I'm usually like, another one, like Myrtlewood Mysteries does for me. The mystery in this book is good. It links together things from various time periods with red herrings and various other mysterious devices. So I'd say the question of who done it and why they do it and what did they do, that was all very good. I enjoyed. This book is very character focused. You get to intricately know all of these old people and they are a very charming and endearing bunch. I think the reason the pacing is as slow as it is that you can get to kind of start enjoying and loving these characters. And while I did, I just would have preferred the pacing to be a bit more snappy. This book is written very conversationally with the odd bits of British humor here and there. So if you enjoy that kind of style of writing, you might enjoy this book. If you haven't read it, it just didn't crack me up quite as much as I had hoped it would. It's a decent book, but I don't really think it is for me, and I'm not sure that I will pick up any more of the kind of Thursday Murder Club books, but never say never. Maybe I'll at some point just be in the mood for it. So overall, I rate this book 3 stars out of 5. Next up in this Talking Books video is Hogfather by Terry Pratchett. I picked this one up as a little bit of a Christmas mood read. I am always down to read some more Terry Pratchett, and to put the icing on the cake, I did it as a buddy read with my girlfriend. Very nice! After the disappearance of the Hogfather, it is up to Death to take the reins, pun fully intended here, and deliver presents to all the people on the nice list. There are some funny jokes littered throughout the book, but I didn't find Hogfather to be quite as funny as many of the other Terry Pratchett books in the Discworld series that I have read. My favorite bit was in regards to the boots. That's all I'm going to say, but if you know, you know. I also liked the computer machine thing with the wizards. It was quite funny. There's like this kind of sentient computer that just answers any question you ask it, but it always malfunctions and is a bit silly and ridiculous. And I think, I don't know how, but Terry Pratchett writing AI type stuff so early in his career was kind of funny. I thought the story was laid out very weird, which is one of my bigger criticisms. Some of the characters that seemed to be really important in the story got sidelined for way too much of the book. We didn't really get to see them do the things that they should have been doing up to the lead up. It's like the villain was introduced, forgotten, and then he's just there again at the climax of the book. I was really lost for most of the book as to what was going on in terms of plot. It was just a little bit all over the place for me and not too coherent. And while that is a bit of a recurring theme in Terry Pratchett books, I feel like it is far more so in this one. This book is about belief, which is a recurring theme for Discworld books in terms of gods, but Terry Pratchett made it about Santa and tooth fairies and various other things that people believe, like the monster under the bed, that kind of thing, so that was quite funny. It's not my favorite Terry Pratchett book, but I did have a great time with it in terms of vibes, and I picked it up at a perfect time to enjoy the Christmas vibes. Once again, this one is a 3 stars out of 5. Right, and so now up next is the final book that I have read since the last Talking Books episode. And this one is the final book that I read in the year of 2025. And this one is called Once Was Willem by M.R. Carey. This is a bit of a dark fantasy type story about a boy who dies and then comes back to life, no longer being Willem truly. He adopts the moniker Once Was Willem. This is a story about defeating a great evil that is plaguing the village of Cosham. The pacing was a little bit slow, but I didn't mind it because the mood and ambiance set in the story was on point. And I did get to know a lot about all of the various characters that are relevant in this book and their backstories. It's a Suicide Squad type story, such as The Devils by Joe Abercrombie or Malevolence 7 by Sebastian de Castile. And it's a brilliant kind of period piece set in medieval England. The prose is super approachable, and I appreciated how M.R. Carey included lots of old-timey words that don't really get used in the modern age, but are actually in the dictionary. The Kindle has a handy feature where if you hold a word, it will give you the dictionary definition, and so it helped me find out the meanings of all of these various words, and I'm enriched by it. I like the way that magic was handled in this book. It's very generic, soft magic. I guess it goes, it's maybe in the middle ground because it's about a sorcerer kind of performing all of these different spells. We get a little bit about what things he needs to perform these spells. And that is one of these things are very relevant to the plot, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But it's not like a crazy, hard, defined magic system like something that Brandon Sanderson would come up with. So for that reason, I'm going to say it's soft magic, but maybe a little bit more than the softest of soft magic systems. There were some very messed up things that happened in this book. So that was good. I like it when messed up things happen in books because it makes the climax and everything so much more satisfying. M.R. Carey sets the tone in this book just perfectly right from the start. He tells you the kind of vibe this book is going to have. gives a little hints here and there about what to expect. I kind of wished that I just got a teeny tiny bit more character work, because the author was doing such a brilliant job, but a couple of characters didn't get quite as much attention as some of the others. There was one kind of segment in the middle of the book which was such a big tangent, and I think it's one of the longest chapters in the book. It was like 35 minutes, that's what the Kindle was saying. And it does make sense as to why it's there, but I feel like it could have been approached maybe a little bit differently, and the climax would have been all better for it. But either way, I really, really enjoyed this book, and I rated it 4 stars out of 5.
Currently reading.
For my 2026 goal of catching up to the Dungeon Crawler Carl series before the release of the next book, I am reading Eye of the Bedlam Bride. That is such a sick name, by the way. I'm currently 70% into this book. The way that the story is culminating in terms of the bigger picture is absolutely fantastic. And what I really appreciate about the way that Matt Dinniman writes is he kind of introduces what's going to happen in the next part of the story, but there's so many diversions and things that happen that really up and up the stakes that it ends up being so much larger than what Carl is doing. And Carl has to literally whip out every trick he has in his bag of tricks to be able to survive. So it's always just so exciting to read what happens next, and you can really get sucked in. I kind of would have preferred if this book went into kind of more fully into the card game mechanics, rather than the crawlers being able to ignore them just by killing the deck master they are facing at any point. Because it feels like I feel like going really fully into the card mechanics would have just made the story far more interesting, because we've already seen what the crawlers can do for the last 5 books. The humor in this series is still on point and hasn't fallen off. I am still laughing like all the time while reading these books, which is fantastic. The characters are still amazing. We are really starting to feel their fatigue, as they've been living life at such a fast breakneck speed for so long. They don't really get time to breathe. It's just on to the next monster, on to the next floor, on to the next quest. They don't really have time. Like, beds they have in their houses can, you know, fully rest you in like such a fast time, but they're not getting time to emotionally recover from everything that's happened, because there is so much gore, so much loss, so much grief that these crawlers go through, and it's just juxtaposed in the most fantastic way by how funny, silly and stupid this story is. You really get to see it from the perspective of the people watching the crawl, so that's kind of cool. The pacing of these books is always amazing, and this book is no anomaly in this trend. Stuff just happens all the time, and there's constant dopamine hits. The items and ability progression in this book is as good as always. One of the reasons I like lit RPG is because I like seeing the level ups. I like the theory crafting of, if I get this class, I can do that. Seeing the achievements and opening the loot boxes. It's just so fun all the time, and I love getting that sweet dopamine without any of the trauma, really. I'm not done with this book, but I am really enjoying it. Multiple times it has gotten to my bedtime, and I have really wanted to continue reading and just to read another chapter. I'm so fully sucked into the story at the moment, and a couple times I did do the naughty and read another one, even though I should have gone to bed. So that's just how brilliant this story is. One of my goals for 2026 is to catch up to the Myrtlewood Mystery series, because it's my little read something short in between other books series. Because I want to replace this series with Dresden Files, because I've heard fantastic things about that one. So catch up to this one, move on to Dresden Files, that's the vibe. This series follows a mother and daughter power duo called Rosemary and Athena, and it's a cozy, witchy mystery type series that is always so fun to read, and the books are absolute page turners. Each book sets up a new mystery, and it's so easy to get sucked in just because In between all of these crazy things that happen, we get to see Rosemary and Athena interact with all of the interesting, fun characters in this town, and they all have their own motivations, or they just want to be friends. And we've really gotten to see so many characters over the course of the books that I've read that I just want to see them more. They're like friends for me now. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not going to waffle on too much about this one because I have talked about it so many times. But yeah, that's the final book on the TBR for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have made it this far, I hope that someone gives you a cupcake today. If you haven't already, please take a moment to press that like button and auto-subscribe. I aim to build a booktube community on this space, so I'd love to have you as part of the journey and to interact with you and find out what you're reading and to have conversations about all of these books that I'm reviewing and find out your thoughts. Anyway, until next time, Root out.